Most of you solopreneurs and business owners get to think that when you're making a sale, it's all about convincing someone to say yes. But what if I told you that the secret isn't in convincing someone, but rather in structuring? And that you don't even need better selling skills or better sales skills, but rather you need to have better pricing models. Because when your pricing is set right, your clients will stop asking themselves, should I get to buy? And instead start asking themselves, which one should I get to buy? And that is where the three-tier pricing model gets to come into play. It sells for you. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you get to build one and then get your business running. So if you're watching me for the first time, I'm Alan. I help solopreneurs start, grow, and scale their businesses, specifically focusing on pricing with confidence. So let's get into the video. Now, for you to get a clear understanding of all this, you really need to understand why and how having one price offer or having one offer gets to greater pressure. You see, when you get to have only one offer, all you're leaving your clients is just two options. That is a yes or a no. Or simply put, you're either leaving them without choice of either they buy from you or they don't. And that alone is pressure enough to your clients, because when it is busted, it is going to trigger hesitation. That is one. Two, it is going to trigger doubts in your clients whether they should get to even buy in the first place. And then lastly, it's going to trigger the price comparison barrier in their minds. But on the flip side, if you get to give them options, specifically focusing on three options, then that is going to relieve the pressure of them, because you'll be replacing pressure with them having a choice. And the psychology behind that is quite simple. People love to feel in control. They don't want to be sold. They want to be the ones to make the choice of whatever it is that they want to buy. That's it. Now that we understand the psychology behind it, let's look at the magic of having three options as someone who is trying to sell your offer or your product or your services. There is a reason as why top companies in the world, you can think of Apple, you can think of Microsoft, you can think of Netflix, and even most of the recent sales or gym sales businesses right now get to use that three-tier method. And that is because our human brains are wired to think in sets of three. When you're too cheap, that becomes too risky for them. And when you're too expensive, you get to be out of reach to them. So the best part is just being just around the middle, not being too cheap and not being too expensive. And the reason for that is quite simple. Having to choose between too expensive and too cheap makes them feel safe. It makes them feel like they're most balanced. And logically speaking, it makes more logic and more sense on paper when you get to think of it. And yes, this gets to work each and every time. So get to make use of it. Are you really finding value in this video? If you are, then please consider hitting the like button. And while at it, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. So let's get back to the video. And now this brings us to a question. How do you get to structure your three-tier methods? So there are simply three ways you can do it. You have to create yourself three packages. That is the starter package, the core package, and the premium package. So let's get to look at what each of these gets to represent. The first tier you need to create for yourself is the starter package. So this is specifically designed for beginners who want to test out your product. If you're dealing into a software sort of business, this will be the first thing you give out. Some of the people give it out as a free. I believe you've all subscribed to some sort of software, and then they give you maybe a free trial for 7 days, 3 days. So this is where most of the guys get to fall into. So it is basically an entry point to people trying to test your software. It is an entry point to people trying to test the kind of services that you get to offer. Okay. Now, the second tier you need to have is the core. Some people call it the standard. So this is specifically your main offer. This is why your main offer intends to be. Yeah. And this one is basically designed to suit most of your clients. Yeah. After they kick the door and they test your product, and then they qualify to want to have the more of it. Yeah. Now they progress into the main offer. Okay. And then lastly is the premium or the VIP. So this is where everything is done for the clients. So this is suitable for people who don't have time and they want everything to be done for them. Yeah. Remember when I told you that when you present clients with something that is too cheap, they'll feel like it's too risky. And when you give them something that is too expensive, they feel like it's out of reach. And in most cases, this is where they are going to want to focus. Yeah. Somewhere in the middle between cheap and expensive. And that is why it is always important for you to structure your three tiers in this way. Make the beginner or the starter packer to be cheap. Make the premium to be so much expensive. And then make your main offer to be just enough, just right for them to want to follow or want to subscribe into your services. And maybe a pretty tip I can get to give you here is that If you want this to all work out, you have to make your main offer feel like the obvious case, like the one thing that they really need to have if at all they want to get your services. And now that we've seen the three tiers, how do we get to make the main tier or our core standard offer get to stand out or somewhat irresistible? Now, this is what you have to do. To make our middle offer or middle tier, or call it the main offer, get to stand out and become irresistible, all we have to implement is the use of contrast. So to make your offer irresistible and get to sell itself, you have to implement what I call the contrast. So get to show the clients what it is that they're going to miss out if they opt to go for the basic. And at the same time, if they opt to go for the most expensive, that is the premium, get to show them the things that they may not necessarily get to need if at all they want to progress with your service. Because that trick alone is going to make your middle offer just right for that client. And when they feel that it's right for them, then they're going to opt for that. And what ends up happening is that your offer is going to sell out. Let's say in your basic offer, you get to give self-paced templates, no support at all. Yeah. And then in your core offer, you tend to give templates, you do consultations, and then you give feedback on an instant. That is in the core offer. And then when it comes to the premium offer, you give everything in the basic, everything in the core, and at the same time, you get to offer a do-for-you service. Now, if you're to implement a contrast trick, you get to show the client what is it that they're going to miss out. And that could be getting instant feedback and getting like consultation. And if you want to show them what it is that they're going to get in a premium that they may not necessarily get to need, is that maybe they won't even need a do for you service unless if it is that it is so much important to them. Yeah. So when you give them the core offer, it is going to make them feel complete. And tell you what, most people don't choose the core offer because it feels cheap. They choose it because it feels complete. And that is why your core offer has to be important. And maybe to leave you with a keynote, it is your price that is going to shape perception. And if you're to ever show your prices in sequences, then always start with the highest price first. Because it is that first price that is always going to anchor your brain to make everything else feel cheap. And if you get to apply that simple slide change, then your conversions are going to double overnight. And hey, remember, you're not forcing anyone to buy. You're just guiding them to make the best fit for themselves.